Okay, so I'm going to talk about the adapter pattern, which is a design pattern in PHP, well, cross-programming, I'm going to talk about it specifically in PHP, which allows you to apply some of the solid principles in object-oriented programming, which solid stands for single responsibility, open close, LISKOV, substitution principle, interface segregation principle, and deterministic inversion principle. We're only going to talk about one today, which is LISKOV. Objects in a program should be replaceable with instances of their subtypes without altering the correctness of that program. Now, if you're like me, every time I hear somebody describe programming or design patterns, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's just like words on a page. What does that mean? But let's use some examples. So the problem we're going to solve is that our client wants to allow users in our system to post updates to Facebook. So we can solve that reasonably easily by doing something like this. We have a user class that has an update status method on it, which initializes a new instance of the Facebook PHP SDK, updates the status, and you can see that the Facebook class probably does something like that, and then we just run a little function at the bottom that does it all for us. That's grand. Fair enough. But our indecisive client then comes along and goes, well, we actually want to allow users in our system to post updates to both Facebook and Twitter, which is alright. We can come back to our code, we can take a look at it, and we could probably do something like that. We've all done something like that in the past. It looks fairly familiar, except you. You kind of run a switch statement to try and figure out what implementation you need, because Facebook is called update status and Twitter is called post status. The APIs are different, the software development kits are all different, it's all a bit complicated. But we all do something like that and it's fair enough. But Facebook come along and they're changing their API and they're changing the method name from update status to create status. Fine, let's go in here and we'll change it. So we change the Facebook API call from update status to create status. And that's fine if we have one little class, a user class to do that in. But, one too far, let's go back. Where are we?
Create status.
Yeah, create status, but we've got a Hufflepuff controller because we're all Harry Potter fans. And in that, we're doing the same thing. We're looking up the Facebook API or the Twitter API because Hufflepuff want to post their house updates through Twitter and Facebook. And so do Gryffindor. And so does Hogwarts because it wants to get new students to come in. All so you get the same thing in multiple places, and it actually starts to become a pain in the arse to update all these things all over your entire application. So we should be able to easily add new gateways whenever the client asks. If they want to have Instagram updates through our application, then that should be nice and easy to add to our application without having to go through 10,000 classes and doing that. And we should also be able to adapt the API changes. We should be able to change method names without too much trouble, without having to go 10 classes, 15 classes, 30 classes to change it through our entire application. So how can we do that? Well, we're going to use adapters. We need to define an interface, and it outlays the functionality that's going to be required for our entire application by social posting. So in this case, we have an interface called update statuses, and it's saying, in my application, I want to be able to post status, and I want to be able to delete status. And that's what I want to do. So we'll get rid of Facebook and Twitter for a minute, we'll not think about that, and we'll just think about what our application needs. And this is what it needs. And then we create an adapter that conforms to that interface. So you can see my Facebook adapter implements the interface. So we go back to the interface. I'm actually defining the functions, but I'm not defining any functionality within those. It just says this is what this class should have on it. So you can see I'm implementing that, and I have a post method, which is defined, and a delete method, which is defined. I'm passing in the instance of the Facebook SDK, and within these methods, it doesn't actually matter how I achieve what I want to achieve. It doesn't matter what the methods are called. I can call them whatever I want. I'm just making sure I can post and I can delete from the Facebook adapter. Does that make sense so far? Okay. Same with the Twitter adapter. It's exactly the same idea. I'm implementing exactly the same interface because I want to have that post method. I want to have that delete method. and I'm passing in the Twitter SDK, the class that Twitter provide. And I have my post method, and I have my delete method. And you'll see that the method names are slightly different. So it's create status and delete status, post status and remove status. It doesn't matter how I do it. As long as I know when I hit post and pass in the status, it's going to be posted. That's all I care about. So we can take that a little bit further and see how that's going to work. We want users to be able to add several social accounts, all their connected accounts, their Instagrams and their Facebooks and their LinkedIns and all the rest of it. And when they post with the application, the post should be shared on all of those accounts. It's not just picking one or the other. This is what we want. So I create a social account interface system. This is going to relate to my Facebook account, my Twitter account, my LinkedIn account. And I create social account classes for each of them. So it's very small, but we have a Facebook account that implements that interface, a Twitter account that implements that interface, and I have a LinkedIn that implements that interface. On each of them, I have the post method that I'm looking for, and then put the connect one in case. But you can see that each of them is calling a slightly different name to create that post. And then I can adapt my user class to be able to do what we need it to do. So I can add a connected account, which is actually looking for the interface class name rather than the Facebook adapter or whatever it happens to be. It's looking for that interface. It's just saying that the class that's passed into this needs to implement that interface. That's what it's saying. So that gets added to an array of connected accounts, however you implement that, doesn't matter. And then when I'm posting to my account, all I'm doing is going through all those accounts and hitting the post method, because I know if it implements the interface that I'm looking for, it's going to have a post method. It's absolutely always going to have it, no matter what. And if you try and do it without it, if you try and pass in a class to your add connected account here that doesn't implement that interface, it throws up an error. You don't get it. Quick tip, just as we come to the end. In fact, well, I'll show you the bottom. If you want to do that, you can add your connected accounts by just newing up some of the classes, your new adapters, and you throw in the dependencies. And then sometime in the future, post to accounts, your status, you pass it in, loops through them all, and it knows just to call that one method on each of them. It's always going to be there. So inversion of control, just to make things a little bit tidier if you're ever doing this, you can use inversion of control to new up your dependencies, new up your classes with all the dependencies already newed up. So instead of passing in Facebook or your Twitter classes into something else, you can actually just do something like this where you new up one class. And sometimes it becomes complicated because the Facebook one might rely on a whole bunch of other stuff and it gets really, really deep, becomes a pain in the arse. So it just becomes nice and clean. Laravel has one built in if you're using Laravel. It's nice and easy to use. The documentation is really, really good. Or there's a few, if you're not using Laravel, that you can use like Pimple or Dice. You can just put those into your applications. Any questions? Yeah, flew through that.
All good?
No? All makes sense?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thank you.